Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our June 1st council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Can we have a motion to excuse Mr. Ball?
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Ball. Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th, 2015, and the special budget meeting of May 19th, 2015. Any additions or corrections?
I have an addition here, where I had discussed the part-time hiring practices, which is correct, which I didn't like. And I also mentioned, which is not in here, that the extra money that we are paying for our, for lack of a better word, code enforcement on all our different rules and regulations we have. I believe the system is broke, and I don't think we're getting our money's worth out of there. I would like that on record, please. That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes?
We're talking about the May 18th meeting, I would assume. Under my comments, the one correction I have is that I thought we should get, work with the DDA and grant applications for the walking trail or sidewalk along US 2, not for the fencing, because the fencing up on the hill is not in the DDA district, so that wouldn't make any sense. But the DDA does have some money, and they may not have enough for a complete sidewalk, but if we got a grant, it would be our share anyway, hopefully.
So, for along where? US 2?
Along US 2,
Okay.
up to the churches, yeah. Everything's there except the period is in the wrong spot. With those corrections, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes for the May 18th and the special meeting of May 19th.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Approval manifest 2015-10 in the amount of $297,015.40. Chris?
Just one on page 2 under rec. The netting replacement, is that something the city has typically paid for, and how often do we replace that?
Well, that's an insurance claim, and we've had the netting for about 15 years. The lifespan of the netting, when I talked to the netting company, the lifespan of the netting is roughly 15 years, so.
Okay. What's the insurance claim for then?
For the snow, the netting came down from a heavy snow from last year.
Okay.
So we had some additional work on that. We have to replace some fencing or fix some fencing, and also the support poles.
Is that fixed now, or are we still in the process of doing that?
Joe, where are we at with the fencing? We were updating or approving or fixing the fencing this past week, and then we have to, once that's done, then we go up with the nets.
The actual fence has been repaired. That's done. And now it's just cutting the electric department loose to put the netting back up. That's what we did in the past years, and we'll do it again. So the insurance company has asked me to keep track of all the time and material for reimbursement to the city for our personal labor. So
That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes?
The only question I had was on page 5. It says Whitewater Associates water analysis. Is that for our city water?
That would be through the wastewater.
What's this water?
Water
Water fund.
Is that for the spring?
$85
Is that,
each.
is that for the spring, or?
Or is that for our own?
No, that's for our water system. They have to do an analysis
Oh, yeah.
periodically.
That was my only question.
Lee?
Page 5, under wastewater fund, the fifth one down. I know we use sawdust there, but I've never seen the term green sawdust versus floor sawdust. What's the special use for the green sawdust, whatever that might be?
Lee, the only thing we use sawdust for is to dry out the sludge, so it's not so liquidy. I really don't know why they're calling it green sawdust.
Well, I mean, it's two different things. It says
Yeah.
one load of green, one load of floor. Could you find out for me, Joe?
Yeah,
Just let me know.
I
what's the-
can, sure.
So what the deal is on that. And then on page 2, under the rec department, third one down, Mills Fleet Farm, cooter seeder slash spreader, $428. That's something that they have to have, or what's a replacement piece for something, the seeder they used to have?
That's a seeder that fits on the back of the John Deere tractor, 3-point power takeoff for seeding, grass seed in our parks and ball fields. The other one that they had rusted out, didn't have it anymore, it's gone. So,
Okay.
and it spreads fertilizer as well.
That's all I have.
I didn't have anything on the manifest. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2015-10 in the amount of $297,015.40.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes, abstaining from the GO-TEC charges.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes, manifest, or agenda items? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay, tonight we're going into a public hearing to discuss the 2015-16 through 19-20 multi-year operating and capital improvement budget. Need a motion to go into public hearing.
Make a motion to go into public hearing.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had a number of budget hearings, walking down through our operating and capital improvements budget. The hearings were, I think we had like 6 public hearings, 5 or 6 public hearings, or not public hearings, budget hearings. One on the 12th, the 31st of March, the 14th of April, the 11th and 12th of May, and also the 19th of May. We dissected each one of our funds. The city has 13 funds. Most notably is the general fund, but they also have the street funds, the major and local street funds. Of course, our utility funds, electric, cable, golf, wastewater, and water. A few years ago, we separated out the fire at the request of the auditor into a separate fund, and of course DDA museum in our capital fund. Just a few quick numbers for the all funds. Our total for fiscal year 15-16 are proposed. We're estimating at 18.9 million. Major part of that is a wastewater treatment plant project that's anticipated or that's planned for 15-16. The proposed expenditures are 17.6 million. In estimated actual for fiscal year 14-15, the revenues were estimated at 12.99% or almost $13 million. And the expenditures were just shy of that, 12.98 million. Again, you can see there's a difference, and the difference is in this project that's coming up in the wastewater. The percentages of the funds this year, the wastewater fund is going to be both revenue and expense our largest by percentage at 35%. The electric fund is normally our larger fund based on revenues or expense, but for this coming up year, our wastewater fund will, because of the large project, be the largest fund by percentage. Again, that'll skew some of the numbers in our, in our percentages, so take the percentages kind of lightly. But then we have the general fund, which follows the electric fund. This year, it's about 15% of our budget. Let's go through the general fund. That's just typically that's our fund with the general taxes, the property taxes. On our general fund, the taxable value for 2015 is estimated at $56,900,000. That's a decrease of 2.29%. This is the second year in a row we had a decrease. In 2014, we had a slight decrease of 0.13%. The revenue sharing for fiscal year 15-16 is estimated to be up 2.45%, and that's at $288,205. The general fund, the revenues, the property tax revenues in the general fund come to about 25% of our revenues. The revenue sharing started at about 25% in 2000. They're actually dropped to about 10% right now. And you can see that through the continual decline at the state level, and that's becoming less and less percentage, in our general fund. Some of the changes that we've seen this year or some of the numbers that we have in our budget this year, overall salaries across the city actually decreased by 3%, from just over $2 million to $1.9 million. For personnel services, which includes all benefits, there's another decrease of just about 0.5%. So decreased slightly from $3.62 million to $3.61 million. The general and property liability insurance increased by $37,000 this year. That increase is up slightly based on a claim that we had this spring at the hydro. The actual workman's comp did decrease though, however, and so our total increase of $31,000 this year is it's a slight increase over previous year. That's third increase is $32,932. The total is $198,878. So it's a slight percentage increase, but again, that most of that is in the general property and liability. Some of the changes that we made over the last couple of years, again, in health insurance, we went to the hard cap on the insurance. That has showed in the decline, in a slight decline of our healthcare costs, and also we made some changes in our pension. We went from a defined benefit to a defined contribution to all new hires. That also, it's not going to see an immediate decline because of the way that the actuarial numbers are calculated out each year, but over time that should take effect into our unfunded liability within the city. Some of the major questions that we had through budget hearings, of course, this directly affects all of our ratepayers, all of our tax payers and ratepayers. We looked at the different funds. On our electric fund, we programmed a 1% increase on energy and a $1 per month on the meter charge. On an average household, that increase is estimated at about $2 per month. On the sewer, we had a quarter increase on the cost per thousand. We kept the meter charge the same. That will be about $1 increase on someone with a usage of about 3,500 gallons per month. And on the water, that's where we have another project. Actually, we had two things that happened in the water fund. One is last year's winter, which really pushed us through with our fund balance, and we do have a claim in, working with the state on a claim. But we also, with Multicolor closing, they were a major water customer, and so we couldn't ignore the fact that you know, we had to address the rate in our fund moving forward. And we have later in the meeting, we have a deficit elimination plan that is required by Treasury, which is basically going to be our approved budget, but we need to have council approve that so we can get that off to the state. They prefer to have us do that right away as opposed to, I mean, in fact, they've been patient through the spring as we kind of work through this issue with the freeze grant, but with some of the other issues, we're kind of wrapping it up into some of the issues over the last year and a half. But on the water fund, we're proposing that we're raising the rate by 75 cents per thousand, and then $5 per month on the monthly meter charge. On the average customer, that will be about a $7.50 increase. So the total increase over the three funds is about $10 per month. And the cable, we talked about some of the increases that we've seen in some of our basic channels, our off-air, what we used to call off-air network channels. We've seen substantial increases in these areas, you know, along with our rather high 7% or so increases in our other cable programming rates. So we looked at our Lifeline fee, and currently it was $15 per month. We're recommending an increase at $3 per month to $18 per month. On the extended basic, we're looking at a $1 per month increase. That'll go from $51 to $52. Also in our conversation on cable, and talking about our digital and our HD, and we look at our penetration in these areas is well below industry average. And so we took a good look at on how we were charging, how we were promoting those stations, and we were above the industry average for how we were dealing with our HD and digital. So under our digital package right now, it's a $20 per month. We're actually looking at a decrease of $5 per month, and under our HD, we had an additional $20, and so we're looking at just an additional $10 for the HD. That will come with one box, and then if you have additional boxes, we're asking for an additional $10 per month on the rate, on the fee. That's all spelled out again in the rate resolution that we have coming up. We did not calculate any kind of an average increase because we just don't have any idea. You know, you have to pick your own packages and take a look at what the effect is on your budget for that.
For the majority of our customers, though, that'll mean if you have the basic TV, it's a $3 increase. If you have the extended, it's a $1. That's
Correct. We, you know, that $1 on extended, that includes the basic package. So.
right.
And just like the digital, we're showing on our rates now the total digital package rather than just the $10 increase or $20 increase. So the digital package will be $77 a month. You know, there's so much that I'd like to, first of all, to thank staff for the many hours of headache that I put them through and the work that they put in, you know, to put this budget together. You know, we're looking at you know, this year it's about a $20 million budget, but it's typically about a $13 million budget. For a city our size, that's a pretty good sized budget. And, you know, we spend a lot of work going through estimating and looking at how we're, you know, spending the money and utilizing and upgrading our utilities and our infrastructure. So I think it's a, it's an effort that starts in January, and, we're still, right to now, we're, just putting the final touches on it, so. I'd like to open it up to, any comments or questions that the council might have at this point. So,
Does anyone from the public have any questions first about the budget? Okay. Who wants to start? Okay, I will. As we went through budget, I had a number of issues, and I still do, with the way we're handling the electric fund again. And we're pulling $225,000 out of electric. $55,000 is going to stormwater project, $170,000 is going to bail out the Gulf Fund per the deficit elimination plan. We can't keep using electric fund as the piggy bank. With the rate increases we're having, we're getting closer and closer to We Energies, and we just keep taking from electric. As it is, electric is spending $600,000 out of their cash balance this year to make up the deficits and make up the spending. Some of that's their own, which I agree with. I agree with electric using its cash for its system upgrades that we need to do, for the 10-year plan that we need to do, for the equipment they need. Just, I don't believe we should keep pulling from electric to fund anything else, any other projects. I've talked about that before. I've had issues with that before. So this is nothing new.
I think we all agreed there was a general consensus on that, Jeremy.
The one other question I had, Ray, going through looking, when we get into general fund, as of this budget, it's showing a $90,000 negative cash balance. But we're showing a $26,000 profit. I know we're taking $215,000 out. That was for the garbage truck, which we had put aside specifically for. And then there was where's my notes? $92,201 from reserved funds for the plow truck. Where did those reserved funds? And we weren't saving for the plow truck. Was that just out of balance, or?
What we're doing a loan on that truck.
Right.
And we're gonna be closing the loan in June,
Okay.
and we'll pay for the chassis. We paid for the chassis in May.
We'll
And
have,
then we're gonna close
okay.
the loan in June. You'll have those extra funds in hand.
And is that's where then the $90,000 negative cash balance on general fund is coming from?
Yes.
Because, yeah, we're showing us losing like 102,000 this year, because you started at positive 11, you're ending at negative 92.
Correct.
Go ahead.
One of the other areas we look at is, you're looking at the available cash line, or the unrestricted. Do we include our investments?
Yeah, you
in the
subtract those.
unrestricted?
Yes, they're in there.
Yeah, because we have a series of investments that we've been diligently working towards through the Upper Peninsula Public Power, where we get like a 14% return. And so, we want to make sure that,
Right. Well,
we
and I-
use those funds, or we get that return.
Well, and I understand that, it's just when you look at it and you're seeing the general fund has a negative $91,000, that's that jumps out at you.
Yeah, and Ray is correct. I mean, the investments are listed there separately. You can see that we.
The investments
basically-
went up 12,000 from the previous year.
Yes, and there's two investments in there. One is the ATC UPPPA, and then the other one is what I'll call the capital improvement fund that we've pretty much just kept that money invested. But it does belong to the general fund. It is general fund money.
Going through the budget, Mary, and this was one, if I'd had a chance to come in earlier, I was gonna ask you about. Looking at electric, the PCAC reduction is only shown for 1 year. Is that something we just do on a yearly basis, or, because looking forward to next year, you're not showing it in the 15-16?
I'll have to check on that, Jeremy.
don't
No,
know if
normally
water
we've
will
been
get-
carrying that.
Right, but we can ask, historically, we've been at the one penny since we put it in place, just about, at least the 1 penny. So they can estimate, they could even, well, it's a budget, so it's an estimate.
I'll have to look at that, Jeremy. Normally, I thought it was in there for the whole 5 years.
Okay. Please come up to the podium.
My name is Bill Asney, 507 Second Avenue, Norway. How is the power plant doing? Are you making anything on that? Are you getting a lot of use out of the power plant or not? How's the dam?
Yes, yes, Bill, we are. It's running very, very well.
And this high water, I suppose that slows you down a little bit?
Well, the water had slowed down and we had 2 machines off already. And then this last little bit of rain bumped us right back up to full capacity. So much that we're actually spilling about 3,000 cubic feet a second through the spillway right now. But we are producing 4.6 megawatts, which is everything the city needs, and we're selling back onto the grid.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good to hear things a lot.
We've had really good water for the last couple of years, and we've had very good water for the last couple of years, and that's really let the power plant really produce for the city.
So that kind of helps you with your budget,
Yes.
that you're talking about?
This PCAC that we're talking about, this Power Cost Adjustment Clause, if you look at some of the other utilities, not city, but other, like We Energies or DTE, well, they usually have something they call a fuel charge. You know, something that if the cost of fuel, gasoline or fuel oil, if it goes up, then it automatically increases. They don't have to make a rate adjustment. What we did with our hydro is we said our hydro, the fuel is water. So we took a baseline of 1 megawatt of generation, and then if we have above that, you'll notice, or if you look at the chart on our PCAC over the 3 or 4 year period that we had it, or we had it in place, it actually decreases the amount, because the more water we have, the more generation above that, then that's better off for everybody. And so we actually see that go down. That's what Jeremy's talking about, is the estimating for that 1 megawatt in the budget.
Come in this budget, Joe, with
Yeah.
the electric, did we budget, how much of like the 10-year plan, are we budgeting for staying on track with it? Are we behind it?
No, we're behind the 10-year plan by quite a bit. And it's not all because of budgetary concerns. There's been hiccups at the hydro that have made us change our direction for a
Right.
few years. There has been employees, issues, people retiring and hiring new employees. That's been an issue, trying to get staff back up. So it's put us behind. It's not because of a lack of money or want to do it.
Okay.
But it's still, if you look in some of the detail sheets, I've got projects going all the way out to 2019 and monies for those improvements throughout the system.
Just wanted to make sure we were still moving forward with that.
Eye on the prize, Jeremy.
Okay, anybody, any of the council questions about the budget? Are there any further questions on the budget? Are there any further questions on the budget? Are there any further questions on the budget?
Could I ask one more? Your unfunded liability on your pensions, so what are you at that, are you in a kind of a normal range, or are you?
Do you remember what the number was when it just-
55% funded only, is that still true, or is it lower?
We're looking at Mary because she's the one who would know the number.
And
Yeah.
we just looked at the report there.
The report just came in, and I didn't take it with me.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me either. I can get the answer for you.
What we'll do, Bill, is next meeting, if you're not here, I'll just announce it at the meeting, so if you watch it on TV, you can see the answer.
Bill, one of the issues that I've been dealing with MERS, who's handling our defined benefit pension, is that their returns on investment are lower than industry average. And they're not giving, that shouldn't be, but that's, it's not.
Have a lot of costs that they charge you for?
I can't get the answer to that, to be honest with you. And I've asked the question. I mean, Mary and I went through it, and
What kind of a return per year do you figure that
Well, they estimate 5%. And, no, it was, no,
No, they
8,
estimate
Normally,
8.
they put in 8% actually, and they're getting less than 5%. Now, they had their initial answer was that in 2008, the market took a deep swoon there. That what they did was they sort of shared across the membership on that loss. And so they're saying that over a 5 to 10-year period, their returns are less because they're rebuilding from that 2008 crash, so to speak.
if they knew how to rebuild.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about
About
that.
3 or 4 years after.
I've got serious concerns about it, but,
Because I know myself personally, I fired the person that had my IRA, it was a bank in Green Bay.
yeah. But you're talking about
Myself, and I redid it myself.
but you're talking about a very large municipal
I know, it's a big
entity.
time.
And we have a contract that we've had with them since, gosh, the 60s, I believe. You know, I went through when I was trying to make changes, I've been trying to make changes since the early 2000s. And it seems like every contract, every year I go in, there's another reason why I can't move from one type policy to another. And I struggle with it because I'm not an actuarialist, but I can do a few numbers, you know, and it never really made sense to me. And this past couple of years, I finally, you know, it just came to a head down there, and we didn't come out on the winning side of that. And it was a lot of
And
politics.
in talking with our,
A lot of municipalities that are in the same thing,
Yes.
and they're staying with it.
They're making changes, but, you know,
in talking with our auditor, his feeling was if they were managing a public held one, they wouldn't be there anymore either. They would have fired them, so.
Well, yeah, because you have ups and downs, but across the board, you know,
Yeah.
everybody took a loss in 2008, 9, coming into 10, it started improving some, but for the last 3 years,
Yeah.
it's been really good, and if they're still showing the same, then I think the company is screwed.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other comments on the budget? Any further comments on the budget? Any further comments on the budget? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing, go back into regular session.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing, go back to regular session.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. First business is Resolution 2015-11, City of Norway pay rates for non-union employees for 2015-16. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually have 2 resolutions. We'll do them individually. Last couple of years, we've started to propose these resolutions a meeting before we actually bring back the budget. And the main reason is that if there's any changes that are made to these 2 resolutions, the first one is the pay for non-union employees. The second one will be the utility and operating fee structure. It does change the budget as a whole. So we want to make sure that before we go into our regular approval stage with the budget, that we know what these rates and fees are going to be. So the first resolution is 2015-11. That is all of our non-union personnel, such as the city manager, utility superintendent, our chief of police, our assessor, museum director, fire chief, assistant chief, our firemen, volunteer firemen, all of our summer and seasonal employees, our summer and seasonal employees. So in general, for our staff, we have, you know, negotiated over the years. I know we have a 4-year agreement with our unions. We had wage freezes the first couple of years. This is the first year we do have a 2.5% increase. That was based off of, again, off of those negotiations. So we have 1 more year, and then we go into negotiations again next year. So that 2.5 was put in for our non-union staff, and I don't know, the rates are there for you. For the city manager, for mine per year is $87,400. Utility superintendent, 79, chief of police, 65, and assessors, 26. All others below are on a dollar per hour basis.
The other change on this year, the summer and seasonal, there was a bump to there to bring them more in line with when the minimum wage went up.
Yes.
And the museum director, they changed how they were paying the museum from a flat salary to a per hour basis.
Right. We did have to address the minimum wage increase that the state put forward. So,
Yep. I just was just noting.
right.
Is there any questions or comments on it?
I have one comment. I mentioned it before, I believe our code enforcement system is broke, and we're not getting the extra $5,000 that we're paying for. It's just not worth it. And that's why I'm going to vote against this.
I'm just gonna, I don't want to extend the conversation, but over the last couple of weeks after you mentioned it at our last meeting, I did have some conversations with our chief of police as well as our assessor and with Joe. The amount of activity is extensive, and so, we've talked about this in the past, that some of the issues that take some time based on how the property maintenance goes with the timing and the letters and some of the tickets that go out. But I do know that it's very active. I think one of the things that maybe has fallen off over the last month or two is the report that was being generated. I'm not sure why you're not consistently getting the report, but I did mention that to Jim, and unfortunately I did get the report late Friday, but the packets were already set to go. So report is on my desk from the month of May. But the police department probably has the lion's share of the initiated calls, and when it comes to property maintenance, they provide those to Jim. I can just speak for myself that that's a lot of work that he is undertaking. That's something that I see. So I would hate to lose him in that capacity.
Any other comments on the rates, on the non-union pay rates? Not, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2015-11, City of Norway pay rates for non-union employees for fiscal year 2015 through 2016.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
No.
Okay, next is resolution 2015-12. This is the rates. As Ray had mentioned in his budget report, I'm just going to kind of run through them again, the rate increases that we're seeing. The water rate is going up 75 cents per thousand used, plus $5 for the meter charge. Sewer rate is going up 25 cents per thousand used. Electric is going up 1% on the use and $1 on your meter. The internet rate went up $3, but those rates are already reflected in this. It's not changing from what we did a month ago. Cable, Ray went through the digital box and HD box changes for the majority of our customers, as I said during the budget report. The basic cable, the Lifeline, is going to be going up $3, and the extended is going up $1. Extended already includes Lifeline, but it's still just going up the $1.
Can I make a comment on that, Jeremy? The only thing on the electrical, we will be getting a 2% rate increase from our supplier, WPPI.
Other than that, those are the increases. Is there any other comments? Just general, okay. I want to make a general comment myself then, and again, this is on the electric rates. especially in the township, our electric rates are now equal or above We Energies, or very close. And this 1% increase, the PCAC would be built in and would function if the rate increased to the point where we were gonna start losing on it, the PCAC would fix it. This year, I think we should have went without a rate increase. With the other rates that have went up and are going up, and it was initially recommended by staff to not do a rate increase in electric this year. I feel that was the best way to go. I disagree with the electric increase. The rest of them, they're needed for the fund and fund balance. The electric one, I disagree with. Any other comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2015-12.
Second?
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have approval, police department, car camera purchase request. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few weeks ago, our police chief came over and inquired about moving forward with changing out police camera. This is the car camera that's inside of our second squad. He's had a lot of problems with the camera that's in that squad. It's a different model than the one we just purchased for our new squad, and it's not nearly as efficient and effective, and it's actually costing us some monies with batteries and some other technical issues. In fact, I believe he even made a comment the other day that if he had to send it in right now, he's not sure that it could even get fixed adequately. So he requested a purchase of a new camera for that car. That car does go out, provides a extended service for us, and he's recommending that he utilize monies from that machine gun sale we had a little bit ago. The total cost for the camera, it's from 10/8 Video Digital Evidence Solutions, and it's $1,834.95.
In talking with Jim about this camera is the same camera that they have in the new car. So they'll be running the same camera system in both. This camera is, the one that they're replacing has a lot of issue with shaking on rough roads, causing problems with the camera, things breaking. And like you said, they're not really able to repair it anymore without sending it in, and it's going to be expensive just to send it in and replace. This camera is also a better camera. It records a clear picture, it records sound better, and this is the camera the videos that this kind of camera produces are ones that the prosecuting attorney prefers to see. And they're actually recommending that other departments switch to this camera after it was in our first car, and they liked what they saw from it.
One question. I believe this is the third item that we've purchased from the sale of that machine gun. Do you know how much is left in there, Mary?
Not off the top of my head, I've got that number in my office.
Could you get, thank you, that's all I need to know.
If I remember, Lee, this is the majority of what's left. There was a little bit left that they're gonna spend for some stuff for the cert, but this is the majority of what's left.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the purchase of an in-camera from 10-8 Video Digital Evidence Solutions for a price not to exceed $1,834.95, and that the monies be used from the gun sale money.
Second?
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is Resolution 2015-13, Water Fund Deficit Elimination Plan. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned earlier, we've been working with Treasury with our water fund called Deficit Elimination Plan. The majority of that issue comes from last year's freeze activity, where we spent roughly $300,000 went through our unrestricted fund balance, and Treasury, of course, sends us the letter, says, what's your deficit elimination plan based on that? I've been working for the better part of 8 months with the state of Michigan on some kind of a relief funding. Late last year, they did come out with it, but we were excluded from the list for various reasons, which I won't get into now. I think we've talked about it in the past. But we did find out a month or so ago that they would now accept our application and work through some kind of some relief. The Treasury, though, this past couple of weeks, contacted Mary and said, you know, we do still want to see, or they still wanted to see this, what they call this debt elimination fund. And if you remember from the past, basically it's an updated budget that shows within a 3-year period that you're taking care of that debt. Within the plan that's attached, it's basically our water budget that we have prepared for 2 weeks from now to get passed. And if you notice within that plan, we have that deficit eliminated within the 2-year period. So it's actually a year ahead of when Treasury wants to see it. And we did program in not all of what we originally calculated for our funding freeze costs, and then part of that is, or a good part of that is that there's some ineligible costs, such as our labor, our in-house labor, in-house equipment, which we still are discussing with them, but it's basically for contracting and material replacement equipment, or material replacement. So we're estimating about $150,000 of the 300, about half, to put back in the fund. Another part of, remember again, come December when Multicolor closed, that was a major water customer for us. So initially, it looked like we were, you know, going to come out of the last year's winter pretty quickly, and then with a major revenue source such as Multicolor moving, it added a little more stress to our calculations. But again, it's something that we worked out in budget hearings, in our water discussions. And so anyway, proposing, or we're asking you to approve that tonight so we can send it off to Treasury and take care of our responsibility for the elimination plan, debt elimination plan.
Any questions or comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
How much did the winter cost us last year, this past year?
Roughly about $60,000 extra, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't nearly as bad. I mean, we had a above average thawing, but we didn't have the breaks that we had. The breaks really what put us under, you know, a couple of years ago. We have the 2 major breaks. We're going to see that in the next council report. But those 2 highway breaks really, you know, were really major for us. And then of course, we just had a number of the service line breaks, and about 8 main breaks the year before. And we didn't have the main breaks last year. So.
Do you know what our average winter cost extra?
Well, none extra. Average thaws would be like 5 a year. I think we estimate for like 5 a year. Yeah. And last year we had 35, 40, something on that order. The year before was 350 plus. You know, so it wasn't nearly as bad, but it still was higher than normal. And so it just, we didn't have the digging activities like we did the year before. I mean, we worked all summer, last summer, all summer, fixing water line breaks. And this year we don't have that lined out in front of us. We have the highway repairs.
And the one bore job to fix that
Yeah.
that spot. So
But
one-
that'll be covered under the,
yeah.
that will be covered under the relief funding.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2015-13, water fund deficit elimination plan.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. The last thing on the agenda this evening is the US 2, US 8 road repairs, change order number 1. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular change order comes from conversations with the MEDC on, we'll call it the freeze grant, but what it is the relief funding that I previously mentioned. In their requirements, the monies that are being used for the relief funds come from community development block grant money. And under the normal requirements for CDBG money, contractors need to or must pay prevailing wage. In asking that question, any project that was completed prior to putting in the application was given a relief from that requirement. However, because this project hasn't been started yet, they did ask us to go to the contractor and get a change order to handle their project under the Davis-Bacon. So this change order, we had Midwest Asphalt and Gravel. They gave us a change order for $6,280. That will increase the price of the project to $37,680.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Yeah, would that affect the other bids?
Which other bids?
No,
How many bids do we have of this? There were 3 bids, weren't there?
we had 3 or 4 bids,
Yeah.
and no, it would
I know
not.
they were low.
They were the lowest bid, but
But
none
were
of the
they
bids
lowest- were they
were put
lowest?
in with the Davis-Bacon
prevailing
wages.
wage. Oh,
So they
okay.
would go up proportionally for
Okay,
each one.
that was my question.
Yep, they'll still end up a little bit.
And the other thing too is that when we do, this has happened in the past as well, when you have competitive bidding and you come through and even before a job starts, might have some changes that have to be made. You don't need to go back out because you awarded the contract based on that competitive bid of apples and apples bidding. So, you know, that's why we just handle this under the change order. That's what the MEDC also recommended in dealing with this.
So they want to pay more money, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's the question that was raised, and these are the federal requirements, and it's federal money, so.
And you're quite certain we're going to get the money?
This part of the funding is not, this is a completely eligible cost, so yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that change order number 1 be approved for Midwest Gravel, Asphalt and Gravel for a price not to exceed $6,280 with a total not to exceed project amount of $37,680.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
And that's our business, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any subject? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We know who you are, Bill.
I don't have to stay.
No, we know, you've stated it already.
First of all, I want to thank the city for helping out with this project. I've never gone into one of these myself, but I knew we had good people doing it. I want to thank Dave Ball and his crew for getting the water turned on for us, and we hope that the rest of it goes as well with that. Are you still going ahead with that sewage plant and the road work starting this year, or is that next year now?
The plant is gonna, I believe, start this year. And if they can get it done before winter concrete, the intent is to do the plant this year, otherwise wait till spring. So we're not getting into winter concrete costs. Otherwise it'll be next year, and the roads, the system part of it is next year. Or the next year to the year after. For the road part, yeah.
Okay. Another thing was that storm that came up so fast the other day. Notice, are the people that have trees where lines go through the trees and haven't been pruned back, are they responsible for doing that? And is the city takes care of what's on the boulevard?
Joe, what's the,
The answer to that is that if you can do it safely through your yard, there's no issue with you going up there and having them pruned back yourself. If they are touching the wire or in very close proximity, what we normally do is you call in and we make a tree cutting list. And then when we have time, usually during the winter months, we go out and we trim them back. But we will take care of it, and we don't do the cleanup, though. We don't clean it all up.
Can someone opt not to have it done if it's on city boulevard? If it really should be done?
No, they cannot. If we deem it necessary, the typical on a primary voltage line of 7,000 volts or higher, this industry standard is 10 feet on each side of the line, is the clearance.
and that's the case even if it's not the
Yep.
boulevard. If the line goes through the yard, you can still go to the yard.
Yep, that's correct, because we have an easement through there.
Okay, I just wanted that question has come up.
Okay,
Okay,
yep.
Thank you.
thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Okay, Lee.
Where do I start? I'll start with, I know nobody shows up at our budget meetings. I would like to see if I'm here next year to have these taped so they can be televised. It's just like the council meeting. We've got 3 people here, yet I'm sure there's a lot more than 3 people that watch the meetings. And by having these budget meetings and even special meetings taped, if somebody wants to know what's going on, they can watch it. And I'm sure people will be interested in that, and they would get a much better idea of what we have to go through up here. Okay, on that, next we have, I mentioned this at the last budget meeting. I don't like the summer hiring practices of the city. I believe it should be residents of the city only and go by a lottery system. I've mentioned this before, but I have not gotten any support on it, but I'm not going to give up on that. Also, I have here a few good comments about our 2 new guys doing the blacktop. Quite a few people have said they're doing a real good job on it. I was glad to hear that because normally I don't get good comments. It's always bad comments. Now on the bad comment part, Marion Park, the toilets by the ballpark. I was out there 3 weeks ago and the water was running in there, and I'm there today and the water's running again. I don't know if they turn it on and off when they have a meeting or something. The bubbler inside.
Yeah.
Inside.
It sticks. The bubbler sticks. If the person takes a drink and doesn't actually physically turn it back,
Well, that could be running for 72 hours. Maybe that can be replaced. Okay, one other item here. Let's see. Oh, I'd like to congratulate the girls softball team who won the district today, and they'll be playing this weekend down, I believe, in Pellston. And the boys' high school hardball team also won the district, so kudos to both ball teams. And while I was out there were a lot of comments made about what a wonderful area we have out there with even all 3 fields and the hell they went through last week with the water. Everything worked out real good. And even without the netting, which I hope would have been up, nothing but good comments about it. And that's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
Well, the only comment I have is, I'm glad that Marion Park is now part of the city instead of in the township.
Chris.
Nothing tonight.
Got nothing either. Joe.
no comments.
Mary. Tricia.
No.
Grant.
No, thank you.
Ray.
I have nothing.
With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.